Do a few steps. I don't know her, but I know her. As far as ancestrals are concerned. Want to do a few steps first? The floor is yours. Practice nothing, we just have to get together. Yes. And we can do anything. I had to stop the drums and change the rhythm to suit what you could do. Now we get back to the Afro drums and the healing procedure. weddings, christenings, any party, period. I didn't bring cards with me, but I'll give you the number who need it.
Okay, you want to give it?
Our pencils and papers have to be ready.
Yes, and we're putting it on tape too. So.
Okay. 347-414-4742. Baba. That's the cell. The home is 289-7221. Call me under any conditions and I'll get there if I have to buy an umbrella.
Is that 718?
212. I live in Harlem.
Let's give another black hand. I didn't want the sister to stop. You know what I'm saying? She had to go. He kind of cut her short. That's beautiful. Now we need to find the man of the hour. You know, he kind of slipped out. You know, so I'm gonna go look for him. Everybody stay put. We know he's in the building. No, he went out that way, but you know, feel it's mystical, you know. Yeah. He might have walked into another damn dimension or something. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you know how that goes. So we got an APB out on him. Oh, he was back. Okay. All right, the House of Consciousness presents the Great Debate. Now this is going to be off the hook. It's the Nuwabians versus the Hebrew Israelites. All right, so we're going to have a civilized discussion about, you know, the Moors and, you know, the Israelites, and we're going to come together, and it will be great for you to show up because you might learn something different you didn't know. One thing about debates that I feel is critical is that the only ones who really win the debate is us. Yes. We're the ones who get the information, you know what I'm saying? So it's not really about them against them per se, but they're going to come. And that's going to be, okay, the truth must be told in these last days and times. You will be the judge for yourself, setting the record straight. Is the Bible the word of God or altered by the white man, stolen from ancient Kemet? All right, that's going to be July 9th. Keep that in mind, July 9th. It's a Sunday at 719 Bushwick Avenue in Brooklyn. So it's going to be here in Brooklyn. Take the A train to Broadway Junction, go upstairs, catch the J train towards Manhattan, get off at Myrtle Avenue, walk to Bushwick Avenue, make a right at KFC. All right, so vendors are welcome. So if you have some, you know, some wares, you do that. By the way, my name is the Black Dot. This is a MOVE production in conjunction with House of Consciousness. Yes, sir.
I want to know what time does it start?
Time. Very good question. Time ain't on there? Time ain't on here.
All right.
You know Black.
I gotta get it together, man.
All right, so we'll just say, stay tuned.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Most likely 3 o'clock. It'll start at 3.
Start at 3. So 3 o'clock is pretty much what's up. All right, I always plug in the lovely sister, Sandy Fuller. She has the Silk Flowers of Care. All right, and each one of these is handmade, so it's not like a conveyor belt stuff going, you know. So at each and they call Flowers of Care because they're done one by one. They're silk floral arrangements. They smell great. They look great. They also do the water fountains. I do my ritual work up there with my water fountain that I got. It's beautiful. We got flyers outside. Her personal number is 914-699-2246. So you can get in contact and get them flowers for all occasions: Mother's Day, Father's Day, your birthday, you broke up with your queen, trying to get her ass back, you know, all that kind of stuff. So you want to do that. I want to plug this in. I got this on my table. It's called The Secret. And I'm going to read the back. Learn what the masters have always known. It is the greatest secret that has been kept from the masters since the beginning of time. The secret is finally revealed by quantum physicists, metaphysicians, spiritual healers, and others walks of life. What it is stuff we've been taught by the masters a long time ago. All right, but the way it's brought across is really down the middle, fundamental 101 stuff, and I recommend that everyone have one in their household because it's really good at understanding how to guard your thoughts and the things you know what I'm saying, think about, is dealing with the law of attraction. All right, so you're gonna see people in everyday walks of life breaking stuff down. I'm giving them out to people in my family who I feel are worthy of it. They're gonna take advantage of it. Since I've been watching it, it's been getting me to, you know, guard my thoughts a little bit more. So I recommend that you get one of those. All right, are we ready? Are we ready? We ready, sir?
Brother Black Guy.
Yes, sir.
You want to mention if those who are interested next week, I have a tribute to the ancestors at Coney Island.
Oh, right. Is that the rites of passage?
No, it's just a tribute to the ancestors.
It's a tribute to, down by the water?
Yeah, down by the water, yeah, Coney Island.
Okay.
16th Street and Surf Avenue.
16th Street and Surf Avenue, down by the water. It's a tribute to the ancestors. So come out and enjoy that. What time is that?
It starts at 12 noon and 12 noon to sunset.
12 noon to sunset. Now, hold on one second. I noticed, I've been out there when it's been pouring down raining. And once the drummers start drumming, it stops raining. This is serious business. You know what I mean? So you want to get down there and pay tribute to the ancestors? Is it a yearly thing, once a year or something?
Thing, yeah.
So come on out. Yes, brother.
I have a few flyers on that.
You have a few flyers on that? Beautiful. Brother will pass those flyers out. All right, so that's going to be critical. Make sure tomorrow, Brother Rashid, the author of Swords, the author of Love and Light, Metaphysics and the Kabbalah, he wrote a couple of dynamic books. Dynamic. All right? He will be here tomorrow, same place, same time. This will be his lecture debut, and I guarantee you it's going to be a classic. The brother has been stilling himself for a long time, writing. He got a new book on Hurricane Katrina that's going to blow your mind when he starts getting into the metaphysics of what really went down during Hurricane Katrina. So you want to get here tomorrow bright and early, because it's going to be a classic. Brother Phil will be here to introduce the brother, bring him on, you know, so things of that nature. So get down with that. And with no further ado, like I said, this is a Move production in conjunction with the House of Consciousness. We do things together now. That's just the way it is. We bringing all that energy together because we're all on the same path, trying to wake people up, trying to get, you know, the ones who are here on the path. We haven't seen Brother Phil in a minute. I'm glad he's here. And the name of his lecture, Death March 3. See, I was cool right there. When he said Death March 3, I was good. But no, he didn't stop there. Scalar interferometry, interferometry. All right, give me a minute. The metaphysics of asymmetric warfare, counter consciousness induction, virtual dis-ease, amplification, and the proximity of 9/11/2. So with no further ado, brothers and sisters, I'd like to introduce you the master of all masters, Reverend Phil Valentine. Yes.
Greetings, Hotep, New York.
What's up?
Hotep.
Welcome home.
Good to be back home. First and foremost, I'd like to say all praises, honor, and due respect to the supreme, omniscient, cosmic intelligence we call God, to my ancestors, immediate and distant, to my father, may he rest in peace, and all of our African Commission ancestors extending back to the royal lineage from the star system Sopedet, and from there back to the beginning of the beginnings. To my loving mother, my precious children, Amen and Shamika, my grandchildren, Sahai and Asad, to my beautiful queen, Dr. Nalani Sopneti Rao, who, without her help and invaluable assistance, nothing of today's presentation could really occur at the level it's about to. To my good brother, Vernon Burton and his wife Jerry for all of their continued patience, love, and support. To my good brother and resident genius in the navigation and conquest of cyberspace, Brother Leon L. To Brother Jamal Gorey and Brother Kidi Odi Owadu, the conscious Rasta. Brother Spartacus, Brother Kazra for their pioneering work on internet radio. I would like to give a special shout out to good friends who I've just spoken to, and one who has just gone on, Brother Ron Edmonds, who's now with the ancestors. I'd like to shout out two old friends of mine who will probably be here a little later. And just for the record, the name is Bert Bush and Brother Tony White. Also to a good friend, an ex-NBA player friend of mine, Brother Kenny Charles, who's right across the street right now at a very large basketball event. Played for Buffalo and a number of other pro teams. We grew up together. Just saw him today after like 20-something years. To Brother Marvin Chambers, master teacher in ancient Commission Masonic sciences, who is now embarking upon a Herculean task of revising Masonic works back to their former Commission rights. And last but most certainly not least, to my illustrious hosts, Brother Dwayne Bowser, a.k.a. the Black Dot, Brother Chris Wilfer, a.k.a. Krishna, or we call him Christ, Brother Rich. Due respect to Brother Sarnetta, street soldier extraordinaire on the front line in the battle to rescue lost Afro-Kemetic minds. And a particularly warm-hearted shout-out to a good brother who has recently joined their ranks, a brother whose present works, I personally believe, are but a forecast, a brief appetizer of his future greatness as a teacher and a code breaker. You heard his name before. His name is Brother Ahmad A. Rashid, who will be presenting here tomorrow at this same time. I ask that you come and you support this brother because he, like all these other brothers, we are passing the torch, what I call the torch of enlightenment, onto these young brothers. So I'm hoping that the brothers and sisters who are here would shout out to 3 and 4 more to come. And I would say this to him, Brother Rashid, and to all the other brothers of the Moon. If you but stay the course, like your brothers in the Mu Collective, Black Dot, Chris, Brother Rich, Brother Alim, never compromising in your search and your efforts to bring truth into the light of day, to be humble yet self-assured before your people. They will together with their brothers like Sarnetta constitute the next generation of code breakers and metaphysicians that Dr. Blair, Brother Bobby Hemmett, Sister Myra L., Brother Hamza Sit Catlett Bay, Brother Kaba Hiawatha, or Brother Booker T. Coleman as he's known, Brother Africa Bambada, and myself would be most honored and happy to pass the teaching torch of enlightenment too. So I say to you, brother, that it is all because of what I've said above and all those brothers who are above that I now respectfully recommend, no, I respectfully insist that everyone here returns tomorrow to give your precious support and attention to this brother and to further extend that valued support to Brother Black Dot in his efforts to publish and promote his great work, Matrix of Hip Hop, to help support and promote the Mu Brotherhood through Brother Christ Krishna, Brother Chris. This is a brother I call the reluctant prophet teacher, a brother of exceptional intelligence and knowledge in the higher sciences, but who prefers to serve from behind the scenes. We myself here are personally been trying to get him to come up on stage, to step into the spotlight and to share his wisdom, but all efforts have so far been unsuccessful, but we're going to keep trying. And to Brother Rich, an exceptional gold breaker with a fresh insight into the crypto politics of the Illuminati and its metaphysical meanings, along with Brother Alim, another powerful code breaker extraordinaire, and Sarnetta collectively represent tomorrow's intellectual special forces on the metaphysical underground. So, brothers and sisters, if my words down through the years have moved you to challenge yourself and your personal concepts of reality, if they have helped you to see the world a little clearer, then I respectfully ask that you heed them here today and support these young men in their collective mission as the Brotherhood of Mu to continue the arduous and sometimes dangerous work of mental liberation of our lost people. Because, on the real, mental liberation is the only true foundation upon which all structures and concepts of freedom now stand and must stand. Beloved brothers and sisters, all of you who have decided to give of your precious time and attention to participate in this moment, a moment in which I am about to relate what I believe to be one of the most important messages directly related to the consciousness and future sanity and safety of the underground grassroots metaphysical community and pretty much everybody else concerned. I ask that you pay strict attention to the things that I'm going to be speaking about, because they will be brand new. This is something brand new, what we're going to be teaching this level. This is going to be tomorrow's technology that will be vented upon you here today. You will have at least a 3 to 4 year preview of things to come, and therefore overstanding, understanding, and understanding that you must now guard and be very aware of how your thinking process is working, what is working on your thinking process, and the things that you must be ready for. But before that, that's my good friend I just shouted out right there, my guitar player from back in the days, at least 20 years ago. That brother has the baddest licks, chops, and chucks. He was one of the greatest guitar players out there that we never made it. That's Brother Bert Bush. I want you to go ahead and give him a hand for me today. My brother went through hell and high waters with me during the times when we were chasing our dream. A dream that was deferred temporarily, but we're going to meet each other in the next life, and we're just going to go ahead and do it again. Before we continue, I would like to give you a few things to go and check, because it's not good that we just give information out without you being able to verify it for yourself. Again, you know me, I don't just talk just to conversate. I take the time to write out every word that I think I need to say and then embellish upon that, so that there is a clear and concise teaching module for everyone to rewind, to continue to learn. This is why I am going to be speaking to you throughout this day on something that we have going at this particular time that I introduced the last time I was here in January before we left. We have successfully embarked upon and opened the University of Commission Sciences online. We have some 40 students from around the world to whom we broadcast live, on time, in real time, classes of the new type of university. In fact, Dr. Jeffries and I have spoken about this particular concept, and he is eager himself to introduce this into ASCAC as a teaching modality for them. So what you have here, or what we have done again, as we have done in the metaphysical underground some 20-something years ago, 30 years ago, we have now forwarded the movement just a little further. We have the University of Commission Sciences online, where we broadcast the third Saturday of each month within the 6 months that the classes are going on. And we teach, you see my face, in real time around the world. Might not be the best thing for your breakfast early in the morning, but in real time we teach. And it is profound, because just as we are gathered here today, we are actually credentializing and qualifying our own people through our own modalities of learning. That learning is the 3 stages of the ancient Commission priests and inner scientists. That is the stages of initiation, illumination, and perfection. These were the 3 stages in Kemet that you went through when you went through those 40 years. We can't give you 40 years of our time. We would love to, but based upon the present paradigm structure of time and space and what we have getting ready to go down here in the Western world, we are trying to get this thing started as soon as possible. Now some will say it's too expensive. No, it's not, because we did a test market on what this costs here today, and it is at least 5 times more to get one of these particular courses of this type from the white world. They want 5,000 and up, sometimes 3,500, 5,000 and up for this same class. So when you see it, if you want to participate, or at least you're somewhat interested in it, please take it then. Don't take it and then just throw it away. Just take it for curiosity. Take it because you are seriously considering joining a whole new avant-garde, progressive way of studying yourself, your own self. You're not going into any one of these institutions to sit down and learn about some other cracker someplace who went across the water and discovered something. We're sick of that kind of teaching paradigm. That is why our children have jumped ship. They don't care about education anymore, what I call deducation, because it doesn't do anything to their minds but deaden their cells. It kills off their eagerness to learn. So what we are doing now is trying to teach the young brothers and sisters how to go back and teach the younger brothers and sisters. And then somewhere down the line, we're prayerful that the ancestors will send us the ways and the means to set up the foundations to an actual institution. So that at that time, we will then move forward from there. So the Institute for Commissioned Sciences will be offering a certification course in the fundamentals of metaphysical psychology, which you will understand, something that is vital at this point, because when you understand what's getting ready to come down with scalar interferometry and dealing with the metaphysics of asymmetric warfare, mind induction and counter-consciousness induction, how they are playing against the movement of cosmic consciousness with some seriously high sophisticated intelligence, but how you can now come into control or into at least more awareness of how you think and what your thinking apparatus means. We teach that through metapsychology. We also are teaching a pre-certification course in the fundamentals of naturopathy and hygienic sciences. This is the most advanced form of naturopathy. Naturopathy today is not teaching the true naturopathy. Naturopathy is today the same kind of a bastardized spin-off of Western medicine, where they have what they call targets, or medicinal or medical targets, or pharmaceutical targets. So they target parts of your body with drugs based upon specific symptoms. What we want to do is to teach you that most of the medical or the naturopathy sciences are doing the same thing, but targeting you with herbs and targeting you with these super special vitamins and so forth. It's the same protocol, but it has another kind of approach to it. In the understanding of hygienic sciences, for those of you who know what hygienic science is about, it is about teaching you the true science of how your body works through the aspects of cosmic intelligence, and how your mind and your thought patterns may interface with the process of healing and thus expedite it at a deeper and more substantial level than you can with drugs or anything else. We're also going to be introducing for the September course, Medunetia, fundamentals in the ancient Egyptian language, the ancient Commission language. This is something that everybody has wanted to. We have a master teacher in Sister Sanut Raketti, and Sanut Raketti is a master teacher. She is the one who taught Dr. Nalani, and Dr. Nalani will be teaching the Medunetia, the fundamentals, principles of Medunetia. Sanut Raketti, Dr. Raketti also teaches Chinese, Aramaic, and about 5 or 7, maybe 8 different languages. This is how heavy she is. And she has joined us today in our faculty to teach that. And lastly, we are going to be teaching American Sign Language. And you would need definitely a camera for your computer. American Sign Language is the language you see the people talking on the train at times when they're speaking with just their hands. Well, Dr. Nalani is a master teacher in that. Matter of fact, she taught in colleges, and people who wish to learn how to study the deaf language and be able to do it as a teacher. So she was a teacher of teachers. So she will be offering that course also online. And that is something that we need as well, because the teaching of sign language is going back to your ancient Commission as well as your ancient Native American peoples who spoke with sign language. So these 4 courses are the fundamental 4, we call them the fundamental 4 that will be offered at the University of Commission Sciences online. If you wish to, you may go to www.KEMET, that's Kemet, KEMETA PHYSICS. Again, KEMETA PHYSICS.org. In other words, www.kemetaphysics.org. Or you can call 718-264-9497, and you can get some more information about that. If you wish to have any information on vaccination deferments, you do not wish to have your children vaccinated, if you do not wish to have any yourself, your family members, you can also call that number, leave a message, and I will get right back to you. That said, I will probably go over it again, and at the end of the lecture you will see I will have the information on the university at the end of the presentation. Now, about today's lecture, I ask that you put these names down and refer back to them for information on asymmetric warfare and the new forms of technology that they will be using. These are based on scientific articles and publications that I have read, as well as books that will be made available. If you go through these books and publications, they will lead you to other books. The first is Hurricane Threats. This is in Science, a magazine called Science, volume 293, I believe, and it's in July 2001. And there is a weatherman who has always been telling everyone that they have been manipulating the weather. His name is Scott Stevens, and his website, he can go up and punch in weatherwars.info, weatherwars.info, I-N-F-O, and I think he has a connection there with his name, and you can read some more information about the manipulation of our weather. There is many books and writings and articles by a Colonel Thomas Bearden, and one of the articles that was in Explorer magazine in 2004, I believe it was May 2004, the name of this particular article was Precursor Engineering, Directly Altering Physical Reality. Precursor Engineering, Directly Altering Physical Reality. Colonel Bearden, again, is a retired Army operative in science, and he himself has been tapped into one of the highest intelligence levels for weaponry and the new weaponry. And he is spoken about, he sounds a little paranoid in his things. He's all American. You can tell the guy is saluting constantly with every sentence. But what you got to do is to get the information that he's speaking on and make sure that that information is being at least part of your catalog, so that you could put the information together to make the schematics you need. He has a fact paper, and you can go up, I guess, for Colonel Tom Bearden, and he has a fact paper that I read. It's interesting. Now, if you're not scientifically inclined, it's fine. It's all right. Just keep reading, because the mind has a tendency to click with certain words. And once you've read long enough, the style of the scientist that's writing, sooner or later you begin to kind of feel what these meanings are. Always have your dictionary next to you. If you have certain scientific dictionaries next to you, then please have your scientific dictionary next to you, so that you'll be able to decipher that. His fact paper is called, and this is a quote, Perpetual Motion versus Working Machines. And it's subtitled, Creating Energy from Nothing. Creating Energy from Nothing. I also recommend very highly all the works by Dr. Gabriel Oyibo, through which everyone at this particular time is pimping his work to do what you see happening here. And it's very quietly happening that you wouldn't know that based upon all these new scientific breakthroughs that are going on, you think that it's actually white people coming up with all kinds of new things, and wow, what are these smart white people going to take us to next? No, they're actually pimping on Dr. Gabriel Oyibo's work. But they are quietly keeping that seriously on the down low, because they understand that if any light was to go to Dr. Oyibo, then the whole shift of consciousness would go back to Africa. And that's exactly what they're trying to prevent. So read Dr. Gabriel Oyibo's, he has about 4 or 5 books now. And his 3 or 4 books, the first 3 books, very difficult because he was actually writing to his fellow scientific masterminds. And then he begins to break down the Goggle theory, God Almighty's grand unified theorem, is Gij, J equals 0. The Gij, J equals 0 has now made a quantum step, caused a quantum leap in consciousness about reality throughout the world. And as a result, based on the sickness of this Caucasoid's mind, he has taken it and, of course, tried to make a weapon out of it. And essentially has created nothing more than weapons of mass destruction, weapons of mass distraction, as well as weapons of mass lockdown, mental lockdown, which is what we're going to be going into today. There is a book called, and I believe it's a book, it's called A History of the Theories of Ether and Electricity. This is a fundamental that you may want to have just for your thing. It's in the London Press. I believe it was about 1958. It's kind of a technical reading. It's by E.J. Whittaker. And I suggest you just have it as a reference. This is a paperback that was issued, I believe, in 2004, somewhere around August or September. And the name of the book is called A Guide to the End of the World. Everything you never wanted to know. A Guide to the End of the World. Everything you never wanted to know. The name of the author is Bill McGuire. And I believe that's Oxford University Press. There is an article, I believe, in a science magazine called The Journal of Human Evolution. You got to go to the library for these things, which is, that's my hangout, that's my disco, that's my club back in the days. And you got to go through some of the magazines that they keep tucked away, because this is the places where you find the real deal. The journal is called The Journal of Human Evolution, and I want you to read what they have as the new theory about what happened to humans on the earth. Remember we told you about a great nuclear war and great cataclysms that were created because of us messing up on our own technology? Well, they're now catching up with it. So they're saying in such writings as, quote, late Pleistocene human population bottlenecks, volcanic winters, and the differentiation of modern humans. Let me say that again. Late Pleistocene human population bottlenecks, volcanic winters, and the differentiation of modern humans. This is by Stanley Ambrose, a man named Stanley Ambrose. He also wrote another article called Population Bottleneck. Now, this is a very interesting theory they have of why it is that we have a current theory of why life now originated in Africa. And why they're now saying that upon reading, see, they always got to find a place to put themselves in. But upon reading now all of the human genome around the world, they have come to the assessment that every human on the planet originated from an African woman somewhere in Africa. Oh, really? We are totally enlightened. Thank you. So now they've come to that, they've come to say, okay, that's what it is, but here's the reason why that is. And if you, so they're always trying to put themselves in. Not that they're mutates, not that they came here based upon some experimentation or some cosmic mistake, but that they were here all the time. And then it restarted again, right? And then it restarted all over again, and then when it restarted again, they came back from out of Africa through a black woman. Anyway, another one to read, because you got to read and keep up with these people.
What is the issues of general health, the human evolution?
That I didn't, I forgot to put that down. I didn't bring it with me. But what you can do is probably do a search on it and then put in that late Pleistocene human population bottlenecks. In fact, just follow with Population Bottleneck by Stanley Ambrose. And they may lead you back to the actual article and the time and the date. Another one that's is interesting because this particular theory is now catching fire. It's by a writing by two scientists called M.R. Rampino and S.H. Ambrose. Again, this is Stanley Ambrose writing with a man named M.R. Rampino. And this particular work is called Volcanic Winter in the Garden of Eden. It's called, and the subtitle, the Toba, T-O-B-A, super eruption and the late Pleistocene human population crash. Next one that you need to read is Volcanic Hazards and Disasters in Human Antiquity by T.W. McCoy and G. Hecken, H-E-C-K-E-N. We have 4 more, just to let you know that this is not just me talking, this is done based on research, everything that you will see today. This was taken from a U.S. Army War College Quarterly. U.S. Army War College Quarterly, spring 2002. And it's called Thinking Asymmetrically in Times of Terror. Thinking Asymmetrically in Times of Terror. And another one by T.S. Bearden, and this is very interesting. We have another genius of a scientist in here today, and he is working on some very, very advanced things for us to be participating in. I wouldn't want to turn the camera on him right now because it would be dangerous. But I want you to, give a shout out and recognition to a brother named Brother Maurice Bay. He's sitting in the audience right there with the hat on, right behind there. Give the brother a round of applause. Brother has some very interesting and very innovative technologies and information that I believe that everybody should be networking with him when the time comes for him to introduce that technology into our midst. T.S. Bearden wrote a paper called Energetics. Energetics is what the Russians called it, but the Tesla's technology was translated by the Russians into something called energetics. And the subtitle is Extensions to Physics and Advanced Technologies for Medical and Military Applications. March 21st, 1998. Let me see that again. Energetics. Extensions to Physics and Advanced Technologies for Medical and Military Applications. I'm saying all this because hopefully by the end of the day today, you will have a working understanding of what this whole technology is about, so that when you read it, it isn't like the gibberish that's going through your head and you don't know where to connect it because you don't understand or recognize any of the words to understand the meaning. So today we're going to do that for you. Again, another one, there is a patent application that you can check out, and this is for Brother Maurice and some others who wish to go and experiment with some of this. There's a patent application, and it's application number 60/339,122, December 7th, 2001. Again, patent number 60/339,122, December 7th, 2001. And the patent is Method, System, and Apparatus for Conditioning Electromagnetic Potentials, Fields, and Waves to Treat and Alter Matter. Let me say that again. These are working technologies, brothers and sisters. Method, system, and apparatus for conditioning electromagnetic potentials, fields, and waves to treat and alter matter. Now with that, we're going to move forward. That's your homework. I just want to bring you up to speed since I've been last here. As of May 11th, 2006, a report to the Senate subcommittee said that Verizon, AT&T, and Bell South have all turned over all of their customers' calling records to the NSA. Let me say that again. I guess obviously everybody must have knew that. They're quite comfortable with that. As of May 11th, 2006, a report came out to the Senate subcommittee that Verizon, AT&T, Bell South all turned over their customers' calling records to the National Security Agency. The only fourth major one called Quest refused to turn it over. So everybody should be on a mad dash to go to Quest. But then everybody needs to chill because that might be the trap. Item: 2 immigrants wrote the Patriot Act. You want to know why these crackers are scared to death of immigration problems and why they're erecting a wall like Israel right now on the Mexican border? The wall ain't to keep Mexicans out. They already been letting them in. It's to keep you niggas in. There is a wall right now going up north of Chicago around by Canada. Are you all hearing me? Yeah. Lockdown USA. It's coming. Who are those 2 immigrants? Michael Chertoff and Victor Dean, an Israeli and a Vietnamese. Item: Sherman Skolnick is dead. Now, who's Sherman Skolnick? Well, Sherman Skolnick was the one who put over 163 crooked judges in jail. Up in Chicago, where he operated from. He was dead, pronounced dead in his home after a severe beating from unknown assailants. He was wheelchair bound. So they beat on a man who was in a wheelchair. It wasn't the wheelchair, it wasn't his body, it was the man's mind. One Caucasian that I respected because he took no quarters. In fact, he was the one who went up against Jesse Jackson when the state had redlined the whole district of whole black district in Chicago. They called Jesse Jackson in to help them out, and Jesse Jackson took some money under the cover, left them out there, and he, in this wheelchair, had to put together the paperwork to save black folks for their housing. The land in question was owned by the Archbishop, who wanted them off his land. Item: a company called SBC. A company called SBC, a government front for surveillance, sabotages all your phone connections and conversations if they hear specific words being spoken. Now, if you got a plan to rally somewhere, and you need to call on your crimey to get here, let's meet here, all of a sudden your connections will go, and when you try to reconnect, they will say that number is not available. So if you see anything with SBC, know exactly who and what they are. Item: the 2 major hurricanes that were first seen to be man-made and were recognized by the by the weather people as being strange was Hurricane Ivan and Hurricane Katrina. The deep part about it is that Hurricane Ivan and Katrina were named after the Russians, or called Russian, because they were Russian origin. In fact, asymmetric warfare and interferometry was being conducted and has been conducted by Japan and Russia against the United States for the last 10 years. Maybe more. Item: just prior to Katrina, Russian President Putin reported that 2 U.S. senators were caught spying on a top secret military facility. Who were these senators? Democratic from Chicago, Senator Barack Obama. A Kenyan by birth. He and his father work for British intelligence. As a Democrat, he had a friend with him who was a Republican, Senator Richard Lugar from Indiana. Putin seized both their passports and arrested them. They were kept in custody by the FSB, who is now the new Russian secret police. Unknown to the public was the fact that when Katrina took that sudden right hook turn to hit land, it was aimed by Russia at refining facilities in the Gulf owned by British Petroleum, which is owned by the British royal family. Item and update. It was the agents of FEMA who sabotaged the levees by the 9th Ward, killing upwards of 50,000 people of color and poor whites. These levees were held back near River Lake Inlet to prevent the swamping and flooding of a city that was some 500 feet below sea level. There were over 25 eyewitnesses to the sabotage, most of which were black, but also included poor whites. The FEMA black operatives vowed to find these eyewitnesses and to eliminate them. As it stands today, they are presently being hidden out in Venezuela, Canada, or somewhere in Mexico. Item: unknown to the public, the city of New Orleans is sitting on an enormous reservoir of oil, which extends outward into and off the Gulf of Mexico. Check?
Check.
Now you understand why.
Okay.
Pretty soon you will be seeing oil refineries going up, and prospective names for that new area will be the New Atlantis. They'll be bringing in all kinds of casinos, cutting deals with Trump. In fact, before the waters had even started receding, there was a major meeting up here in New York at Trump Tower to go over the particulars about the land, how much money it will need to invest in that area. Black folks, of course, not welcome. Now, brothers and sisters, over the next few hours, I will be presenting tangible, discernible proof regarding the protracted wave and war on evolutionary spirituality and how the sciences of physics have now substantially caught up and moves at par with the science of metaphysics. You will become familiar with new words that the Illuminati is using to define the new weapons and tactics of hyperdimensional warfare. For nearly 30 years, beloved brothers and sisters like myself have been attempting to enhance and amplify the metaphysical IQs of diasporic Afro-Kemetic communities around the world to prepare the way for what we will all inevitably face in the not too distant future. The war for the mind, against the mind, and by the mind is now an all too frightening reality, and the following will be my humble effort to attenuate the shock. Beloved brothers and sisters, the European world paradigm is in its final stages of life. Let the church say amen. The one world order, of the parasitic elite has now entered its final steps to completion. Why do you think they're putting out all these secrets on the History Channel and all the crap about the Illuminati, the skull and bones? They don't give a rat's ass if you know. They don't care. Why do you think there is a movie such as the Da Vinci Code? They don't give a rat's ass if you know. It is all because they are here now. They are out. They have been outed. They don't care. The power structure is in place. The last final moves to their plan for us is in motion. As the parasitic world elite has allowed for and used his woman to pervert and distort the gender consciousness of our world to match their own twisted sense of self-identity, so too have they now dared to twist, pervert, and distort the very elemental superstructures of life, nature, and reality to match their own psychotic vision of our future. It's interesting to note that the present stage of the Illuminati plan towards the next levels of socially controlled chaos and planned global genocide coincides with the opening of the new theme park at Disney called Expedition Everest, a 20-story coaster ride that officially opened April 7th, 2006 at the cost of $100 million. Mount Everest is considered to be the highest real estate on the planet, next to Kilimanjaro. And the main attraction at this ride appears to be yet another physiological alter ego of the ex-cave dweller, a creature called the Yeti, the abominable snowman, Bigfoot. This is in keeping with the previous release this year to the public of another ape-like creature with human characteristics who climbs to this highest peak and is called in civilization, caught up in civilization, popularly known as King Kong. So we have King Kong, now we have the Yeti. This popularization of the ape as human scenario is the psychogenetic projection that celebrates the coming of age of the Neapolitan Neanderthal. The parasitic elite of the European world paradigm, celebrating their rise out of the caves to claim symbolically two of the highest and longest phallic symbols on Earth, as well as the Earth itself. That he and his recessive DNA, his spiraling ladder, underlying his basic Neanderthal nature, has ascended to the top of the human food chain to become the ruling phenotype of the planet. He prides himself in having become the world's quintessential sophisticated savage, a scenario further played out in the soon-to-be-released third and final episode of perhaps the most popular comic book in the entire world today, The X-Men. In it, we will be introduced to a character known as the Beast. Now wait a minute. We first have King Kong, now we have the Yeti, now we have the Beast. A beast who is at par with Professor X in intelligence. What's being said? The character will be played by, of all people, Kelsey Grammer. In fact, what most people are unaware of who follow the X-Men is that the very combination of the word X and men, that is, X and man, denotes a man or mutant who is hormonally perverted and thus sexually dysfunctional. The star characters' names are also indicative of the cave dweller's projected psyche. Names like Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, Iceman, Wolverine, Beast, Rogue, Cyclops. Are you getting a clue?
Yes.
Jean Grey? Grey Jean? Somewhere in the middle? We don't know what it is? Again, all depicting descriptions of a perverted human phenotype that matches the basic underlying nature and psychological characteristics of the European white male. Brothers and sisters, our problems today as so-called black people is that we have collectively regressed from an ancient state of dark matter spirituality to a pathologically psychotic state of mental dysfunctionality called religious belief. The ancient Africans' scientifically spiritual mindset over the last 2,000 years has been viciously colonized. We now operate in states of ignorance and confusion, in a Christian state of mind, in an Islamic state of mind, in a Hebrew Israelite state of mind. Each state carefully calculated to create stagnant, entropic mental activity, where the primary focus of our invaluable attention is centered on an alien God concept created and brutally sustained by men who got us to believe that they are the direct representatives of God. This has caused the majority of Earth's indigenous peoples, particularly those calling themselves black Christians, Muslims, Israelites, Republicans, Democrats, and Boule, to believe that scientifically manipulated death phenomena, disguised as hurricane, earthquakes, droughts, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions, are absolutely impossible to create within man's present intellectual ingenuity and capacity. This is the exact state of unimaginative, visionless, and crippled intellect that the European parasite world elite counts on, allowing them to secretly create and initiate catastrophic conditions around the world to the utter ignorance and protective stupidity of the religious-minded zealots who, sheep-like, pray to artificially created deities created to distort the higher faculties of their judgment. In other words, man can't create hurricanes. Only God can create a hurricane. Listen to the Hebrew Israelites and the Muslims and them. Man can't create a hurricane. That's God. You're stepping over your bounds. Thinking that way. Beloved brothers and sisters, what we face is like nothing. Marcus Garvey, nothing. Martin, Marcus, Malcolm, none of them have faced this. The level of technical sophistication of the beast is, to say the least, incredible. Is to say that he's all-powerful and omniscient and unapproachable. It's just that he's been doing his own work. And we're about to peek his notes. Years ago, when I was told by the black nationalists that the teaching of metaphysics was a distraction and a waste of time for black people, I warned them that unless they made a substantial effort to raise the metaphysical IQ of black people here in the diaspora and back at home, any hope for meeting and overcoming the social, economic, political, and spiritual challenges of the 21st century would be non-existent. Though I encountered many formidable challenges over the years, today I am guardedly optimistic at the number of young brothers and sisters pursuing the higher path of metaphysics and the ancient sciences of our ancestors, because this is precisely what the scientists of the parasitic elite were doing while we were so damn busy marching down the streets. They were busy looking back to go forward. And this is why I believe that the religious Negro has been such a detriment and an impediment to the progress of so-called black people and to the genuine spirit of upliftment in our planet. It is because of religious Negroes' refusal to accept their true legacy of Earth's history concerning the achievements of our ancestors and their blind, dangerously ignorant, and closed-minded acceptance of biblical myths as their history that we face a level of challenges to our tenuous freedoms equal to that which led to the time of the Ma'angamesi, but the cultural community now calls the Ma'afa. There's no Ma'afa. If the Christians ain't got you, it's the Arab. Ma'afa. Ma'afa is Arab. It means a great happening, a great sudden happening, like a hurricane hit you. Something outside happened and it hit you like a hurricane. That wasn't really what it was supposed to be called. It was supposed to be called, and it's what Khalid was going to call it. He was going to come out with this before they assassinated him. It's called the Ma'angamisi, or the Ma'angamiso. That's the true Bantu word for the great suffering and the terrible occurrence that happened to our people collectively. Ma'afa is like a sirocco, a wind that hits the desert. Let's choose our language, choose our words carefully when we describe ourselves. Black people today, by and large, are scientifically starved, spiritually deficient, and metaphysically challenged, completely unprepared for the next level of oppression this country and the world faces over the next 20 years. The skyrocketing levels of religious conversions among the black youth of this country and around the melanated world is frightening since the advent of 9/11. Black people, so deprived of a true and legitimate sense of self-identity, have fallen backward from the times of Marcus, Martin, and Malcolm into the same psychological safety nets insidiously weaved around the minds of our captive diasporic ancestors by the wickedness of Willie Lynch. Anything remotely related to Kemet, Egypt, Samaria, Cush, Babylon, Timbuktu, Carthage, Atlantis, Lemuria, Pangaea, Sirius, even to the growing evidence of our extraterrestrial origins in Sopedet, is met with theopsychotic mind lock, a monofocal, congenitively dissonant response about being reborn in the blood of Jesus. All attempts at critical analysis, logic, and exponential thinking is met with religious egotism and misplaced disdain. Christians look at us like we're sick and crazy because we don't know Jesus. Christians are insane people. They have learned to mask their insanity in some kind of sense of normalcy. You can't talk deeper shit with Christians because they will feel that you are attacking them, or that if they say anything, they'll be embarrassed and, oh, I don't want to talk about Jesus in front of you. Well, why? I'm all right with it. I'll show you a side of Jesus you never knew. So you see, beloved, our task will be a daunting one because those of us gathered here will be faced with the prospect of making decisions about our future based on few and still ever shrinking choices left to melanated people in this cosmic diaspora. We are alone, brothers and sisters. This place is supposed to be packed.
That's right.
They're out shopping. Hopefully tomorrow you'll do more respect to your brother, and they'll be back. What you're going to get here today is like nothing else they're going to teach you anyplace else. And I'm not just blowing bubbles. Because it's all right. You're going to find that the apathy and oblivious, closed-minded response that Christians give you will be expressed by the closest members of your family and your loved ones. Do not expect that what you learn here today will be taken seriously. I can only advise you to stay the course in your quest for truth and light, because the universal intelligence matrix has allowed for those of us of like minds to be gathered together here today, as it has orchestrated similar gatherings of like minds around the world at different times. Know that what we do here in this small group will be of great historic significance to your children and their children's children, just as it has been at the dawning of great changes in the mindset of oppressed peoples throughout the existence of our species. At the beginning of each time something is about to change, only a few people know what's going on. And only a few people know when to gather. Because that's how the world is run. Only a few people move the herd. So we don't got to convince a lot of people. We just got to get a few people to act dynamically to make sure that the rest of them follow. And if they don't, fuck them. What did I say? Fuck them. Now, is that cruel?
No, sir.
No.
Cruel is not being here.
The problem we have today is, and I was explaining this to the young brother in the car. Today, everything is accelerated to the point where young brothers and sisters, boys and girls, are being coderized. You know what it is to coderize something? When you burn something until it cauterizes? How is that? Well, learning is a kind of thing that you do in such a way that you grow something from a seed. Because you are trapped in time, there is a process to everything. What they have done, and this is the secret for those of you who have children, is that they have accelerated the learning process of the mind, especially around superficial things. And what they have done is they have crowded out the areas where synaptic exchange and neuronal linkages, neuronal pathways, where pathways grow, where nerves and energy or places that grow in the brain related to learning becomes oversaturated with bullshit. So what they do is they give children computer games. What you don't realize is that the computer games are creating neuronal linkages and pathways that are going to be clogged with specific learning instructions around this fast-paced, get it done yesterday, quick fix mentality that will not be able to translate in a classroom such as this where they will be able to sit still. There is no room for the kind of gradual necessary learning of peripheral thought, how to think, when the thought is constantly agitated to get satisfaction immediately. They have superseded the ability of the brain to grow a substantial root in learning. So now all of the learning is superficially given to the surface. Now you have this weed, this thicket, this briar patch of bullshit nerves and ganglia created by learning that has nothing to do with substantial human nature, with nothing having to do with your intelligence. So try teaching a child whose neuronal nerve pathways are so clogged with bullshit. You sit him in front of a teacher, he's going like this. And he's probably behind the desk with somebody playing inside of his video game to keep his fix going. It's diabolical. Because you don't understand that a child's mind is an empty slate. If that empty slate is growing neural pathways from learning superficial bullshit, there is no more room to learn anything else. Because the old programming stays, and it's a hell of a job to try to supersede the old programming. Which is why your children can't learn today, which is why the University of Commission Sciences is so necessary, or this type. This will just be the prototype. I know that this is going to grow into something. This will be the new medium. You're going to be in your room, in your home, doing this. And we're going to teach you to turn off the damn thing and hear us in the ethers. Because that's where we want to go one day.
That's right.
Now, the titles of my offering today is a continuation. The third of a three-part series based on the tragedy of Hurricane Katrina. It's called Death March 3. Scalar interferometry, the metaphysics of asymmetric warfare, anti-consciousness induction, virtual disease amplification, and the proximity of 9/11 Part 2, which I'm just going to give you a taste of, because I'm going to come back with it later on. Now remember, everything that they're uncovering in 9/11, I already told you when? December 2001. Who was there? Now, are they not unfolding everything we spoke about?
Yes, sir.
Everything that's supposed to be new that white people are coming up with evidence now, we told you about it then.
That's
3 months afterwards.
That's right.
But of course, you know, a little brown nigga was telling you something. You know, white boy say it, everybody say, yeah, this is how it must have happened. who are those out there, those who are usually looking at my tapes for the first time. If you are among those who believe that my lectures are outlandish and completely out to lunch, hold on to your narrow ends of your mind and get ready for a wild but necessary ride into the real outer limits. Scalar interferometry, asymmetric warfare, precursor engineering, non-material energetics, quantum potential weaponry, and time engine manipulation are words and phrases first made popular in our 21st century lexicon by retired U.S. Army Colonel Thomas E. Bearden. Now, all of these names we already had other names for. Now, remember back in the days when we were there, Bill, the big man will tell you, when we were there speaking about all this words that just didn't seem to have, what the hell is he talking about? Well, I was trying to create words so that you could understand where we're getting ready to go. But now they're telling you, here's the words we're going to use. Same words, the same meaning, different words. The one thing that we must understand and understand completely before we proceed is that the scientific premise behind the new mechanics and principles of warfare are as old or older than that of our own ancient Kemetic ancestors. The definition of the forces being used by military science today have changed, but the occult metaphysical laws governing them have not. Which is why, again, I have been so adamant with the brothers and sisters to shift the focus of their strategies, at least in part, to the study of metaphysics and the application of metaphysical thinking to understand the new tactical methodologies of their oppressor adversaries. In his book entitled Oblivion, America on the Brink, from which I have gathered much of my visual data to explain the metaphysical correlations of his scientific data, Colonel Bearden exposes and refers to a semi-secret briefing given by and then the head of state of the foreign minister in 2003. What he relates is quite simply a menu of metaphysical facts. This is the what was it? What did I say his name was again? What was his name? Well, I didn't mention his name yet. Foreign minister. Now, what this man was saying before reporters is quite simply a step-by-step recipe for what turns out to be cataclysmic space-age weapons that match virtually the same type of etheric force weaponry used by our ancestors to bring about the end of their world paradigms. What we then introduced as hypothetical but plausible at our many gatherings of the masters and was debunked and discredited by our elders and other educated influential members of the black cultural community as fiction and non-science or nonsense is now an in-your-face reality. These metaphysical weapons mentioned above are in place and fully functional and have been tested and implemented within the newly defined parameters of the 21st century and its warfare. In fact, the old definitions of warfare no longer apply, since the arsenal of weapons have rapidly evolved from the conventional combat with bombs, rifles, and missiles to tactics now defined as asymmetric warfare using systems and techniques known as energetics, precursor engineering, virtual reality flux, negative entropy engineering, quantum potential weaponry, force amplification weaponry, electromagnetic wave polarization transduction weaponry, and many more so elaborate and sophisticated that the average Christianized and Muslimized black man will either think it's all misinformation and propaganda, nonsense, and would think that the results of these tactical weapons were acts of God, since no man could cause such effects or wield the power to manipulate the weather. Counter-consciousness induction and virtual disease amplification are terms that I have coined to explain the metaphysics of the new beasthoods weaponry. They constitute the metaphysics of occult warfare and controlled chaos, and represent the expanded definitions of human madness as the inevitable successor of diabolical genius. And the levels to which such diabolical genius have plowed are unprecedented in our present sphere of reality concepts. So it will be necessary for me to take everyone through special logistical steps and definition relative to today's new lexicon of control, combat, and death. The phrase scalar interferometry descends from ex-Soviet Union's development of a secret weapons program known as energetics. Energetics is defined as the physics of energy and its transformations. Energy transformation. Scalar interferometry became the more popular evolution of hyper-energetic weapons in energetics. But all of it was based in the incredible works of a man named Nikola Tesla, of whom I will mention again as we get deeper into the subject. The word scalar is defined by the American Heritage Dictionary as the lattice scalaris, meaning staircase, or scale, meaning ladder. So scalar is to scale, like you're scaling a mountain, but scalar is from the word scalar or scalare, meaning a staircase, spiraling, or a ladder. The definition continues. A quantity such as mass, length, time. Whoa! Let me say it again. A quantity such as mass, length, and time. Who knew that time is a quantity and a quantifiable energy to be used as a weapon? Whoa! It gets better. A quantity such as mass, length, time, or temperature completely specified by a number on an appropriate scale. B, a device that yields an output equal to the input multiplied by a constant, as in a linear amplifier. The word interferometry is from the word interferometer and is defined in the same book as, quote, any of several optical, acoustical, or radio frequency instruments that use interference phenomenon between a reference wave and an experimental wave, or between two parts of an experimental wave to determine wavelengths, wave velocities, distances, and directions. A reference wave would be an energy pattern that represents the passage or source of a specified energy context. Thus, the term scalar interferometry basically means the operation of a device, listen carefully, the operation of a device that uses an energy quantum such as mass, time, length, or temperature. Let me say that again. An instrument that uses energy quantum, an energy quantum such as mass, time, length, or temperature to create a linear output of energy equal to its input using a precursor energy constant, or what Bearden calls precursor engines. Precursor engines. Okay, understand this. Metaphysically, we've told you that all is mind. And that there is nowhere in existence, just because your perception cannot pick up the existence of that mind in a particular value, or in a particular quantum, or in a particular texture. Just because you can't touch it doesn't mean it does not exist. The mistake that science has been making for so long is that they believe that electromagnetism is a source. It's not. It's an effect. Will everybody who has dreams of going to Carnegie Hall stop practicing on our time? Thank you. Switch them off. Disturbing everybody else. Electromagnetism is not a cause. Electromagnetism is an effect, which means there's something before electromagnetism. There is an energy dynamic, or a place where the energy called electromagnetism originates from. This invisible source, this place that looks like it is not active to our senses, is what they call engines. We used to call it metamatter or protomatter in my earlier lectures. So now they call it engines. What it's saying is, now they have the technology to create spaces where they can now activate portable energy constants by just moving specific qualified space and time into a medium that can be used as a weapon. Using space and time as a weapon. The technique for creating or activating precursor engines. So a precursor engine is essentially that which is preceding what you see as a dynamic output of electromagnetism. Now stay with me. Yes, you're in a school. Yes, you are understanding something that definitely they're not going to teach you here in school. But this is the schooling energy. This is what this is going to be about. This is about opening up pathways that have been so infested. And you know what? Remember how when you gotta grow something, you gotta first clear the land of all the shit on it. Well, this is what I'm forcing you to do by forcing you to think in peripherals in 3 and 4 dimensions. And this is where we're going to be, really going to be operating from the 4th dimension tonight. So asymmetric war is said by Colonel Bearden to be executed in 2 phases. 1, the insertion phase. 2, the operational phase. Now, what he is saying is that there is no more need for the use of soldiers trying to bang their way through to conquer you. All they got to do is get one person in with an atomic bomb. They just have to sacrifice one person to put a bomb in a strategic place and just leave it there. And then that one person that could be sacrificed in that very act could take out 1 million. This is exactly what they did at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Everybody says, well, they dropped a bomb on Hiroshima. No, they didn't drop a bomb. The bomb was already there. It was planted there by the Jesuit military. The Jesuits were paying back the Japanese for being kicked out of Japan by the shogunate back in 1310. They planted those bombs and set them off at a specific time. Everybody said, well, who was the Enola Gay? The Enola Gay didn't drop a damn thing. All they did was fly over to make sure that they didn't understand how that bad boy got in there. They wanted to make sure that the Japanese or anybody else thought that you could drop a bomb, you could drop hell on them. They didn't have the technology to explode it above. That technology didn't come until like 10, 15 years afterwards. Slick. In asymmetric warfare, listen carefully, peacetime is simply the insertion phase for their perpetual state of war. Thus, asymmetric war bypasses much of the normal overt tactics associated with conventional war, i.e. ICBMs, strategic bombers, aircraft carriers, nuclear subs, etc. Because all of these become largely unnecessary if the critical covert insertion phase is successful. Again, the truth of asymmetric war and scalar interferometry weapons was substantiated by Secretary of Defense William Cohen in 1997 when he spoke at a conference on weapons of mass destruction held in Georgia. 1997. Why didn't we know anything about this? This was the first time a high-ranking U.S. government official openly admitted and confirmed the use of metaphysical superweapons. Why did we not know anything about it? Well, this critically important statement was purposely obfuscated and superficialized by the whorish media who saturated and overplayed a primetime bullshit soap opera starring Monica Lewinsky, a Mossad agent, and Bill Clinton, a CIA agent, who was Bush Sr.'s CIA protege, and the president responsible for signing more executive orders than any before him or since. And niggas love Bill Clinton. They had some boot black, buck dancing motherfuckers out there. He said, we're gonna blow the horn and welcome, he coming to Harlem. Master Clinton come to Harlem. Brother Sarnetta got the whole thing on tape. Check.
Check.
Them niggas was painted. They had whiteface on. Check.
Check.
And a rag around their head, too.
And a rag. Uncle Remus. A side note here. Isn't it interesting, especially to us as so-called black folks, that the word media descends from the mythical Greek story of Jason and the Argonauts and a princess called Medea who helped Jason get the golden fleece. And the word Medea with an I is the plural of medium, and that the word medium means something occupying a position between two extremes, rich and poor, black and white, or an agency by which something is accomplished, conveyed, or transferred, or better yet, a person thought to have power to communicate with the spirits of the dead, a substance in which a specific organism thrives, medium, media, Medea, who, better yet, isn't it most interesting that the #1 black comedic icon that triggers our young people's attention today is a character known as Medea? A black man playing a black woman who by his jigaboo ghetto buck dancing antics helps keep Jason, another name for Jesus, in possession of the golden fleece, that is, our true cultural legacy, worth more in knowledge than all the gold that he has stolen over the last 2,000 years? In fact, the word fleece also means to defraud of money and property, to swindle. So all of that comes out of media, or the new nigga icon, Medea. You think all that's an accident?
No.
Of course not. Every time they want to get your attention, they play you with one of their own psychic con games or play games where they introduce some of their archetypes to fuck with your head. So you see, beloved, black people today are so immature in the ways of metaphysical manipulation that we can't even recognize when the enemy is providing our leaders or enter training us and our continued Willie Lynch nigga mindset. Anyway, something to think about the next time you feel the need to see an updated version of a jigaboo minstrel show starring this generation's version of Aunt Jemima Goes Ballistic. Media has been covering up the overt uses of scalar superweapons by Russia, China, England, Japan, and the United States since 1976. For example, one of the first uses of scalar interferometry weaponry caused the first blackout in New York City that extends from Canada south into the Carolinas and west as far as Ohio into Indiana. This was covered up by the mind-controlled sleeper who was activated to distract the many weather effects being created at that time, like the hottest summer on record. The sleeper's name was David Berkowitz. Another blackout with the same MO occurred in 2003 here in New York City. At this very moment, beloved brothers and sisters, we are in a 2 to 7 year escalating first level operations phase of a centralized asymmetric warfare plan by the Illuminati for the complete devastation and destruction of the United States as we have known it. In about 2 to 4 years, the final operations phase will be triggered suddenly, and the slowly eroded U.S. centralized electrical power grid system, in conjunction with off-the-scale oil prices, will be permanently destroyed. Watch out for brownouts and blackouts this summer. If you see all these blackouts that are taking place, electrical storms that are actually being geared and put into specific areas to test the responses of people. Remember now, you're not Russia, and listen, if you bomb and kill over 150,000 of my people, you think I'm gonna forget that shit? Japan has been waging a quiet weather war on us since that. They ain't forgetting shit. The Yakuza just stole over $250 billion from us in banking. Everybody's crying about holding on to American values. What fucking American values? Crackers are scared to death. They are afraid. White people are running scared. You got to see this movie, Crash. Check the movie, Crash. And it's funny as hell. It may all begin with the combined attacks through cyber war by way of tactical and strategic interferometer. Portable EM shooters. They got portable interferometers. Portable weather-making weapons. Some of the more noticeable effects will be witnessed over the next few years in the human and animal population through unbelievably erratic behavior changes. Animals gonna start attacking that never even thought about being here. They found a goddamn black bear in the middle of where? Jersey. In a place where there was no trees, no greens, no nothing. I said to somebody that, watch, and I said this, what, 15 years ago? On the corner of Nostrand Avenue in Fulton, you're going to see pelicans walking.
Yes, you did.
And it wasn't yet pelicans, but seagulls started landing and walking like they on the streets. You're going to be seeing exotic animals, all kinds of animals attacking humans. Now, bears have been ripping assholes in the wild. And get ready for the rewilding of America. Remember I told you they're going to be starting to bring over elephants, giraffes, and they're going to let them loose in the North American woods.
It was 2 deers last week, Phil, in the city.
Yeah. Get ready. We told you already.
What?
This will lead to a topic I refer to as counter-consciousness induction and what I call meta-tactics. It is at this level where we begin to understand the true insidiousness of the new tactics of metaphysical warfare. Counter-consciousness induction and meta-tactics, or what I call CSIM, is a tactic that disassembles and disorganizes the matter-of-fact reality index of a targeted group with a military technique now being tested in Iraq called mind conversion. Listen carefully, beloved, because it's getting ready to happen here. Mind conversions attacks. Insert a modified quantum holographic synthetic mindset. Listen carefully. In a mind conversion attack, they insert a modified quantum holographic synthetic mindset into the human target, then switches control of the subject's thought patterns and behavior between the individual's normal mind and the implanted mind, altering the target's behavior as desired.
Didn't they do that first in Rwanda?
Brothers reading us. This was being experimented on in Rwanda right now, and right now in the Sudan. In other words, they are able to create a mind. A kind of a mind. And then implant it so that your brain follows certain electrical signals and patterns, which then, they're familiar patterns because you created them based upon your experiences. They have a way of superimposing a mindset upon that neuronal, neuronal synapses, the ganglia, the neuronal ganglia. They have a way of superimposing a mind upon that in a holographic matrix, so that what happens is when you begin to think following the same lines that you thought your experience created, a new experience has been introduced where you begin behaving in ways that you never really thought you could or would.
Directional speaker. Directional speaker.
Yes.
Look up directional speakers. You take 3 people in the room, I can point a directional speaker directly at you. You would only be able to hear what I actually can transmit to you.
Right.
Out of the 2 people that would be sitting beside you.
Right.
Nobody would hear it except you.
Now they have a way of setting it up so that it becomes a quantum field.
Yes.
Where the directional used to have a certain directional energy that was invasive and can be blocked. Now this one comes at you from a holographic field.
Right.
Holographic, anybody knows about holograms? A hologram is a containment of light, or light quantum. That if you were to take a part of that quantum, or that signature, and put it over here, you'd have the total hologram in that little piece, and can manipulate it back again and get the whole piece once more. It's light, the use and way of bending light, and light signatures, and light engrams that contain certain patterns or certain invested programs within the light fixtures or the light quantums, or what they call the particulates. The particulates of light can be programmed, in other words, to have their own unique signature, which then can create an effect. You will be using, television will be that in the future. You'll be looking at holographic pictures. You won't need a backdrop. You'll be sitting right there like Luke Skywalker talking to Leia. So mind conversion attacks are going on right now today. Another of the recognizable effects of scalar war being waged in the United States will be the event of so-called destructive natural phenomena. All of it augmented and orchestrated by scalar interferometry weapons. As I mentioned earlier, such phenomena include, but are not limited to, earthquake induction, volcanic eruptions, and weather and climate engineering. But perhaps most devastating of all was the demonstration of scalar interferometry used to create a tsunami in Sumatra, and the ongoing phenomenon called rogue waves or freak waves in the middle of a calm open sea. This is another demonstration in what you're going to be seeing as Poseidon. Poseidon. Freak wave. Rogue wave. Dr. Wolfgang Rosenthal of the GKSS Research Center in Gstaad, Germany says of rogue waves, and I quote, "The waves exist in higher numbers than anyone expected. 2 large ships sink every week on average." Listen carefully. 2 large ships sink every week on average, but the cause is never studied to the same detail as an air crash. It simply gets put down to bad weather. Over the last 2 decades, more than 200 supercarriers, cargo ships, over 200 meters long have been lost at sea. Eyewitnesses report suggest many were sunk by high and violent walls of water that suddenly rose up completely out of a calm sea. Another tactic of asymmetric warfare using scalar interferometry involves opportunistic volcanic eruptions and seismic disruptions or distortions. A demonstration of these tactics may be witnessed in our very own backyard. Now listen very carefully. It appears that since 2004, U.S. intelligence has detected the energy signatures of a large scalar interferometer weapon trained on an area in the United States that is home to one of the world's largest supervolcanoes, a volcano whose caldera, or a crater, lies smack in the middle of Yellowstone Park. The weapon's signature have been reported by the media as a natural phenomenon, even when the U.S. military announced plans to detonate a 700-ton bomb equivalent to a small nuke in Las Vegas, Nevada on June the 2nd of this year. They did it almost 90 miles northwest of Las Vegas in a high desert valley surrounded by mountains in the Energy Department's Nevada test site. It was called Operation Divine Strake, S-T-R-A-K-E, not strike as some have put it. Operation Divine Strake. The word strake is a nautical term meaning a single continuous line of planking or plating extending on the vessel's hull from stem to stern. This project is said by the military to determine the potential for future non-nuclear weapon concepts. This is the official version for the sheeple to follow and for the media to broadcast to us. The unofficial and perhaps more accurate explanation of Operation Strake is because of its effects of the scalar wave being waged on the United States. There are scalar wave weapons trained in the United States constantly screwing or fucking with something in our landscape. The weather, volcanoes. You will be seeing an eruption coming, hopefully not soon, in California. I'll explain why. It seems that the real reason for our government detonating the equivalent of a nuclear bomb in the U.S. soil is that the volcano under Yellowstone Park is coming back to life. Let me say that again. The volcano under Yellowstone Park is coming back to life. In fact, the clue to the truth is that they intend to detonate the bomb in one of the most seismically active regions in the United States, and that is in the state of Nevada. The reason the operation is called Divine Strake is because the targeted area for detonation represents the single continuous line connecting the California part of the ship to Nevada and from Nevada to that part in Yellowstone Park National Park. To save the entire ship, this massive 700-ton explosion is intended to relieve massive amounts of tectonic pressure on the North American plate, all of which is now being amplified by scalar interferometry weapons to activate the Yellowstone supervolcano. In fact, Fox News Service, in an article entitled "Giant Volcano Under Yellowstone is Stirring Back to Life," stated that there were, quote, "forces brewing deep beneath Yellowstone National Park that could be making one of the largest supervolcanoes on Earth even bigger. In the past decade, part of the volcano has already risen 5 inches. That's huge if you're dealing with the whole square area. We are watching the whole tectonic plate mass of volcanoes, because they got a bunch of them down there on the West Coast. Now check this out. The article goes on to say that this activity cracked the crust in the park's famous Norris Geyser Basin, reawakening some of the area's once dormant geysers, including what they call the Steamboat, the largest volcanic geyser in the world. It's called Steamboat. Why did they call it Operation Strake? Because around Steamboat, there is tectonic movement. There is a huge movement of that volcano. But as terrible as this news is, of even greater concern to the government scientists of the United States are the recent scientific studies about the Great Sumatra earthquake that is connected to the United States of America. This is the true tragedy that appears to be unavoidable in all of this. You see, the after effects of Operation Divine Strike may prove catastrophic because in order to save the entire North American continent, the government of the United States may have to sacrifice the state of California. This may happen because the tectonic shock of the North American plate, should the plan work, would be transferred from Yellowstone Park to the thousands of faults lying out under through the state. The absolute downside of Operation Divine Strike, says Dr. Ashukin, is that such a massive set of explosions could actually proceed or produce the opposite effect of what the American scientists are attempting to achieve on June 2nd. Not only by triggering catastrophic earthquakes in California, but also accelerating the activity, volcanic activity, in both Yellowstone and the Pacific Northwest regions, all the way up to and into Canada as well. Now, at this point, I would like to take a moment to expound on the Yellowstone supervolcano phenomenon, because it and other such structures is directly related to black folks and the mass global genocide being planned for 90% of this population. 90% of the world's population is slated for destruction. It seems that scientists have recently discovered that the Yellowstone supervolcano erupted over 640,000 years ago, killing most of the higher life forms in the total North American continent. They stated that this volcano erupts about every 600,000 years, meaning that for 40,000 years it has been percolating with pent-up energy and is overdue to explode. 74,000 years ago, another supervolcano, this time in Lake Toba region of Sumatra, Indonesia, exploded, killing all human life, except, it is said, for a few thousand people living in Africa. It seems that the geneticists now confirm without a shadow of a doubt that all present human life on this planet has descended from Africans. A Professor Stanley H. Ambrose, Associate Professor in the Department of Anthropology and Department of Nutritional Sciences, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, Director of the Anthropological Department's Environmental Isotope Paleobiogeochemistry Laboratory, has shown that genetically, the present human mitochondrial genetic strain clearly shows a dramatic and sudden reduction in genetic viability, what they call genetic bottlenecking, which they say took place approximately 74,000 years ago. Now let's stop right here, and let me give you the counter to all of this Caucasoids arguments. They claim that present-day human mitochondria reveals that there is a dramatic or sudden drop in genetic viability some 74,000 years ago. This, I believe, is an insidiously subtle super lie hidden inside of some scientific theory. It's pseudoscientific to give some sort of timeline and historic legitimacy to the parallel pre-existence of the white man with the black man from the very beginning. In other words, white, yellow, red, and brown examples existed before 74,000 years ago and the eruption of the Lake Toba supervolcano. But this is examining a fabricated, synthetic, artificial timeline created from the present to explain an alleged past. The other side of this story is that the cataclysmic trauma suffered by the then singular black population of the earth and the ensuing environmental shock of toxification. The impact of our ancestors' DNA mitochondrial signatures caused our genetics to mutate, disintegrate, degenerate, and pervert, causing the subsequent births of dysfunction, discolored albino teratogens, or monsters, that became the bones of the cave dwellers and cave cultures that suddenly ended with the demise of the Neanderthal. Once again, it appears that the European cave Caucasoid is attempting to legitimize his existence by scientifically writing himself into the evidence of our history, because nowhere on the face of this earth, where the highest civilizations took root and flourished for thousands of years, is there any evidence of his genetic existence. In fact, the more the Caucasian digs into the graves of our ancestors, the further back he goes in search of himself in high civilizations. And there he finds only us, and evidence of him living in caves under the most horrendous and savage of living conditions. Joining Professor Ambrose in this newest perpetration of pseudoscientific claptrap is the professor called Lynn Jorday from the University of Utah. And then finally, there is a volcano on the island of La Palma. Get ready for this here in New York City. I'm sorry to say, you all definitely have to be prepared. Because there is off the island of La Palma in the Canary Islands, just off the southwest coast of Africa. Some of you may already remember this in my Death March series. I spoke about this volcano called Cumbre Vieja. Cumbre Vieja. Cumbre Vieja was a volcano that exploded, and it split its western flank during its last eruption. The split itself is about the size of a quarter of Rhode Island and about the size of the island of Man. The split is still just hanging there above the ocean, ready at any moment to slip into the sea. Now, when, not if, the split crashes into the sea, it is predicted by scientists to cause a massive tsunami that will reach speeds of up to 600 miles an hour. Within 7 to 10 hours, a wall of water 75 to 160 feet high will hit New York, Boston, New Jersey, and points up and down the eastern seacoast of the United States, perpetrating and penetrating into inland sections as far as Ohio. Frightened yet? When? We are now calculating that if, let me go on, we're saying within 7 to 10 hours. So you all, I always suggest that everybody got something packed. You pack your weapons, you pack your cross, what do you call that things that you, first aid kits. You pack your dry goods. There's a place on the internet where you can buy dry goods that can last inside of storms. If Katrina was any indication of how they're going to treat black folks, we better get prepared to take care of our damn selves. Now, all of you hoods out there, and I'm going to speak to all of you gangbangers out there who got the weapons. If you don't understand that you all are not the enemy, that they got you playing as the enemy, you all better, if you got a contact, get your cache of weapons so that you can start your army, because I know they already got you all conscripted to hold down the population. They already got you all, so how the hell do you get sophisticated assault rifles out in California? Where do they come from? They come from the military. United States, you need to look at a book. I mean, go get a movie. Need to get this movie. Got to get this movie. Must look at this movie. What's the movie? It's called The Lord of War. Get The Lord of War and look at The Lord of War. Nick Cage is brilliant. He's brilliant in this. And at the end, when he drops it on this, the guy had to have my name, Valentine. When he drops it on Valentine, and he did it so sweetly. He says, you know, I really like you, you know, you're a good man and all this stuff. And I'm paraphrasing. He says, I like you. He says, but you're not going to hold me. You're not going to hold me, because in a minute there's going to be a knock on the door. A man outranking you is going to come to the door, and he's going to praise you for all of the good work you've been doing. And he's going to tell you to let me go. And if you see the carnage, the madness, the craziness. They ain't showing us as Africans in no good light. We either super Christians or just crazy cannibal eating motherfuckers. There's no middle ground for Africans. You see, that's the problem with us today. Don't worry, we can get it back. That's the problem with us today. Now, your brother asked, when? My brother want to get packed and get out. Kumba Vieja is a prime target for scalar attack, and US and Canadian scientists have registered scalar interferometry signatures consistently bombarding it. So what can I say? Any day now! If you don't operate as if it's any day now, another target for interferometry attack would be the pockets of methane hydrates, frozen natural gas deposits under the eastern continental shelf. This would cause massive undersea landslides, which would in turn would trigger massive tsunamis. At this point, I would like to shift our attention to the topic that most immediately affects us as a people, the topic of quantum potential weaponry, what I call the tactics of virtual disease amplification and targeting. Those of you who have followed my work in the field of psionics or teletherapy, radionics or broadcast healing will be familiar with the underlying premise. Again, this is nothing more than a case where Western physics has now caught up with Afro-Kemetic metaphysics. According to Colonel Bearden, this quantum potential weapon can create or broadcast signatures or templates of disease over large areas by way of scalar electromagnetics and cause the symptoms of broadcast templates to appear in the human targets without the presence of the actual disease organization being there.
Beautiful. But further explain that. Beautiful. Further explain that.
Elaborate a little more.
Elaborate a little more why they said that. And what they meant by that.
What they meant by that is that they know that we are not the same people.
That's right.
They cannot stand us.
That's right.
I, for one, I tell you, I see African ladies out there and sometimes I get confused. They're good looking women, I'm not gonna lie.
They are.